Hey, what's up, Jooba People? Today we're going to do suspended chords. This is day 10 in our music theory course. If you want to get the full course, check the links in the description. This is what suspended chords sound like. So. Have another example in the key of G, which is going to be a G sus4 to an E minor sus4 to E minor to C2 to a D sus4 and a D sus2, going back to G. So the sus4 sound sounds like something is suspended in the air. That's the sus4, and there's a normal major chord. So the sus chords are really easy ways to add a lot of beauty to your chord shapes. Sometimes a normal chord just sounds too kind of at peace, resolved. And if you add a sus chord, it's like there's something happening inside the chord. And the most common example of this would be if you take a D chord, like you watch me now, and you make it a sus4 by putting a pinky down. That's usually the first sus chord somebody learns. Also, you can get a sus2 chord by taking off your middle finger. Then you get the sus2 chord. So, and check out my new view here. D, D sus2, D sus4. Okay, so let's jump into the PDF here. Suspended chords are built using the 2 and the 4, and it's built, you remove the third note from the chord. So remember, in the previous days we learned that your chord is built using the 1, 3 and the 5. Well, now you take away the 3 and you replace it with either a 2 to create a suspended second chord, or a 4 to create a sus4 chord. So these two formulas are very important for you to memorize if you want to do sus chords. Oh, my tuner's still on. Give me 1 second. So a sus4 chord, you build it using the 1, 4 and 5, and a sus2 chord using a 1, 2 and 5. Now, every chord in a key can be created as a sus4 chord. So let's say you're as a sus4 and a sus2 chord, except the 4th chord can't be made a sus4 chord. So if you're in the key of G, you can make the first chord, the G chord, a sus4. We'll go over the shapes in a second. You can make the 5th chord, the D, a sus4, a sus2. You can make the 6th chord, a sus4 and a sus2. You can do it like with all the chords, okay, except these rules. The 4th chord can't become a sus4. It can if you want to play out of key, right? But that we'll cover more in day 16. But just remember this, the 4th chord can't be made a sus4 chord. But all chords can be made a sus4 chord in a key. The 1st chord, 2nd chord, blah, blah, blah. The 4th chord, you can only make a sus2, not a sus4. Okay. The other thing is the sus2 chord can be used on every chord. The 7th chord, we're forgetting about the 7th chord. So the 7th chord is a diminished chord. We'll get to the diminished chords later. But a diminished chord can't be made a sus chord because a diminished chord doesn't have a 5th in. It's got a flat 5th in. So just forget about the 7th chord, okay? So all the other chords can be made sus2 chords except the 3 chord. So if you're in the key of G, the B minor, you can, if I make it a sus2 chord, you can hear it's out of key, like. Made a sus4, but not a sus2. Okay, that's important because, and the reason behind these two exceptions is that if you make those specific, like if you make the 4th chord a sus4 chord, okay, a lot of terminology here, but if you did the previous days, you would understand what I'm talking about here. Let's just see if this is working. Give me 1 second. So is that if you make it a sus4 chord, you are no longer in the key. You use a note to make it a sus4. So let's have, I'm playing the 4 chord in the key of C, in the key of G, which is C. If I were to make this a sus4 chord, I need to add the F note. And that F note is not in the key of G. So it's a little bit complicated, but just know that on the 4th chord, you can't make it a sus4. It's a very important rule to understand, unless you want to play out of key. So unless you want to sound a little bit out of key. And we'll cover the out of key sounds in day 16. All right, now some common sus chords that we can play here are D. Let's just go through them quickly. A D, got a D sus4, and I just want to explain the theory behind the chord. So usually you'll have a D chord, you'll be fretting there, right, like this, and that will be your 1. Your 1 was the open string, and then this is your 5, and this is your 1 again, your root, and that's your 3. So you got your 1 3 5 here. Okay. And now I wrote the intervals down. There's your first interval, 5th interval, first again, because this is an octave. And now usually you'd play a 3 there, but now you're taking away that 3 and you're putting the pinky down. So that's what a sus4 chord means. A sus2 chord is basically taking the 3 off and playing a 2. So that's a 2 because that's an E note. E, D, E, D. It's the second note in the scale, right? So this is a sus4 chord. This is a sus2 chord. All right, I hope that makes sense. The same theory applies if you're doing A. So if you're playing an A chord, your 3rd interval is over here. It's a C sharp over here. But you're taking that one up 1 to make it a 4. And you're taking it down 2 to make it a 2. So in terms of sound, like a sus2 chord and a sus4 chord, a sus2 chord has a more of a stable sound. Sus4 chord is a little bit more, wants to resolve back to the A. But a sus2 chord, you can keep it ringing out. Okay, let's do some more examples. E sus4, so if you're doing E minor, you can do an E sus4 and then an E. Okay. G sus4, this is a little bit less common. So if you have a G chord like this, you could play a G sus4 like that. G, G sus4. Okay, then we have a G chord like this, which is often played by muting the 5th string here. And then you just add this finger on the 2nd note in the scale, the A, and you have your G sus2 chord. Okay, and this is another shape to do G sus4. There's a G, and this is a G sus4. So that's your 3rd interval here on the 2nd string, which is usually played open over here, and we're just adding the index finger there to make it a G sus4 chord. Okay, we have got a C sus4 chord here, so if you play C, put the pinky down, there's your C sus4. If you have a C chord and you take this finger off, you have a C sus2. Just don't play the bottom string open, because then it will change the chord name to be a C add 9. Because C add 9 chords has a 3rd in it. But we'll cover that when we get to add chords. Okay, at the end, add 9 chords. So these are movable sus4 and sus2 shapes with the root note on the A string. So we can play this with the root note anywhere. So let's put the root note on a B over here. We put these 2 fingers down and we bar, and then this is a sus2 shape. It comes from A sus2, and this is A sus, and B sus2 now. That would be C sus2, D sus2. Okay, we have our sus4 chords, which comes from the A shape like this, which we can play a B sus4. Now this note is pretty impossible to play unless you're a really good bar chord player. So I would just play it, use this pinky to mute the bottom string. So this sus shape is really nice. I like it. Sounds really cool. Okay. And then let's just check if the chat works. I just want to check this quickly. Checking chat. I want to do some live things and see if these things work over here. Okay, let's move on to the exercise. Okay, so the exercise that we can do with this kind of thing is to... Oh, my chat is not working. I really like the color in the background. That makes the stream look really nice. Anyway, so the exercise that we're going to do, we're going to spice up boring progressions with sus chords. Now, I've written down 4 basic progressions, and we're going to make them add sus chords just to make the progressions more beautiful, because that's how you use sus chords. You take a already nice chord sequence, and you just make it more beautiful. So let's play D to G. Okay, so in the key of D, let's just assume we're in the key of D, and because we're starting on a D, and then we're just going to say it's a 1-4. Okay, so what we can do, the D chord can become a sus2 or a sus4. Okay, so we can take the D and go. Would help if your guitar is nice and tuned. So D, and then we could do a D sus2. Oh, it's beautiful. D sus4, and then back to a D. For as long as we want, and then we can go to the G. I wonder why the chat's not working. Let's quickly see here for a second if there are any chats. I wonder why there's no chat. There is chat, but nothing's coming through. Anyway, okay. Let's just carry on here. So with the G, we can't use a sus4 because in the key of D, the G is the 4 chord. So we can't go to the sus4. Listen how that would sound. If we go to the G chord, immediately if you make it sus4, you're, oh, it's not weird. Okay, so you can use your ear or you can just remember that rule. So to make it nice, let's do the final D, D2, D4, and D, and then G. For the D, suspended second, I'm just adding this finger. Okay, let's take the second example there. I'm going to leave this on the screen. I'm just actually going to make this a little bit smaller and a little bit more to that side. And we're going to jam it in the corner there. Make it a little bit smaller. Okay. So for the D, we're going to play D. For the A, we can do A sus4, A, G. We use the same G as we did. Really beautiful. Okay, the fourth progression, the G, E minor, A minor, D, is in the key of G. So we're going to go G. We could do G sus4, and then to the E minor we can do E sus4, to the E minor. And we go to A minor, A sus2, A minor, A sus2, to the D sus4, D, to the D sus2, D. Let's do it again, G. So that was a G sus4. You could also do to the E minor. Very beautiful. The last chord progression is in the key of C. This is going to be a 1. So we got the C to the G. So we got G sus4, G. We got A minor. We could do A sus4. To the F. So the F sus2, you can just add this, just lift up this finger. So there you have it. That was some ways we... Hey, what's up, WDNT? I want to do nothing today. Yes, you're the only one watching. I don't know. I don't know how many people are watching, but you're the only one that's chat, obviously. Well, not obviously. I also said something. Okay, but anyway. So that's it for day 10. just take basic chord progressions, write them down here, and then play them using sus chords. And you'll see that's the best way to use sus chords, and then you'll start to become aware of them in songs that you're learning. So if you're doing like a Wonderwall, that chord is a sus4, so it's pulling back to the D. So sus chords have this really beautiful sound, and you want to experiment with it as much as possible to get to know the scope. They're especially nice and odd sounding if you use them on minor chords. So if I'm playing G, E minor, to play a G and then an E, sus4 to an E minor, which is weird. So that's pretty cool. Oh, it's about 14:22, 20 past 2 here. Cheers, guys. Have a nice day. WTNT, thanks for joining the stream. We'll see you guys in another lesson. Bye-bye.